All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Eric Jr. podcast after a glorious week for your boys. I'm joined here by Jacob Klein and the Creamster. How you guys doing?
Feeling good, man. That Sixers win last night, a much needed boost to this podcast, or else it would have been pretty low energy. But we got that win. I'm feeling good.
Man, there's one thing the Eric Jr. podcast is known for. It's bad timing.
Impeccable timing, yes.
Impeccable timing and also pre-pod debauchery. I would also put that in there as well.
Yes.
But couple things we got to get, off the docket right away. Then we can ease into some brighter bits of news and then close out with a more subtle and calm summation of where we stand on the Philly landscape.
Wow. I mean, yeah.
So we got to come out and say it was like legitimately 24 hours after we spent a half an hour talking about the lack of movement on the Carson Wentz front. He got traded literally 24 hours later. It was brutalizing for our listenership. Like the downloads, they were just awful. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But the week has gone by. It's a clearly franchise-altering move. It's clearly monstrously important. So, we feel obligated to, I guess, one, acknowledge our heinous timing, but also acknowledge a little bit, I guess we'll touch on the return. But we know all of you have, parsed through this and know what's going on. I don't even think we need to explain the compensation of what they got back. Pretty much everybody would know at this point. But, it is worth, here we go. Let's just say what we got to say about this.
Yes, and I will amend one thing, Ray. Not 24 hours, 12 hours. 12 hours after our podcast was published was the Carson Wentz. After waiting, I was so angry. I was so angry with Howie Roseman. Even more angry than I usually am just about, his incompetence and backstabbing in the organization. So much more angry than that on a personal level. It was.
He wasted your time. He wasted your time.
Yeah, and the listeners' time, man. Think of the listeners. Their time was wasted too.
They didn't have enough time to get into the pod. They were waking up in the morning to an irrelevant pod. They didn't have enough time to get it wasted. It was simply us.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But of course, it happened, and we're left to pick up the pieces. I'm glad. I'm glad it's over. Right? I know there's a lot of takes this past week. The one prevailing one, I'm just closure. Just get him out of here. Get him out of my life. I know it's going to be a talking point next year with him in Indianapolis. I know it's going to be a talking point for the foreseeable future, but the less I got to deal with this guy and the nonsense surrounding him, I think the better. So I think it's good riddance. Goodbye. I don't know how you guys feel.
So I'll step up to the podium next year, fellas. The truth is, Carson and I started off very complicated relationship. me being really the only proud, outspoken naysayer, non-believer. And
right.
I did evolve. On that issue. No, I was not right.
Stuck to your gun. No. You should have stuck to your gun.
No.
Flopper. You should have stuck to your guns. You would have been riding a high last season.
This is what many people will not do, which is own up to it. I was wrong about Carson Wentz, and the way it ended is about as ugly, and I am smitten. How about that? I feel no joy in this about having my trepidations initially. And what I would say is this, guys. We start this podcast in the year 2018 off of a magical run and a future that is literally, the possibilities are endless. We have the piece. We have supporting players. We were on cloud nine. We had such high expectations for the future of this team. And here we are, the timeline. We have gone through so many lifetimes. The Carson Wentz saga, I don't want to say it's completely tarnished, But as most modern relationships, with the exception of the two gentlemen on this podcast other than myself, they end ugly. They end messy. And it's not a good process for anybody, but it's something that in order for both parties to be better off, there has to be a separation. And the Colts were the best fit for him. You got, likely a first and a third, which is very, very solid. And honestly, the thing that's going to hurt the most is when he does rip off those game-breaking plays, the special plays, if we see that again. If he's just a guy that leads him to 9 or 10 wins and is solid, but never, is able to rechannel those special tendencies, the instincts, then it won't hurt as bad. But if he starts making some game-breaking plays, over the course of this season, then he's back the season after, it's always gonna hurt. But as Cream said, I'm glad it's over, and that's my piece on it.
Yeah.
I got pretty out on him.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Pretty quickly. I was pretty quickly in. I was pretty quickly out. Jake,
the way this
were right.
business goes.
You were right the whole time.
He was wrong, and then he changed, and then he was wrong again. Classic Jake Klein.
He bought Enron and then doubled down by buying Kodak. This guy is a disaster. The main thing that's kind of stuck in my rib cage here is, in reading the content about him, it is pretty crazy that we weren't more worried about the chemistry stuff, because we definitely wrote it off. We definitely said
100%.
Oh, Josina Anderson, Alshon called her up one-on-one conversation and just complained. That's probably what happened. But what has kind of morphed my opinion a little bit is I saw in one of the many articles that I was reading about it, they were laying out the context of why he got moved, and they were and there has been some chemistry issues as noted in a piece on April 3rd, and then another one on September 8th, and then another one on October 18th, and then another one on January 5th. I was oh my God, yeah, there's 7 of these quote unquote character blows, and that is something that you see with Terrell Owens. You know what I mean? That is not normal, and I guess we ignored it or wrote each of them off individually. But this article was able to cite at a minimum 5 to 6 negative pieces about his exactly what the talk was, coachability and issues with teammates or coaches. He might have just been pretty annoying behind the scenes. I don't know. So honestly, I'm not super passionate one way or the other. I don't hate the guy or anything. It's honestly you got the picks and you move on.
For sure. And I agree with you. Any other, we do have a very selective memory about that kind of stuff. When it's the franchise quarterback, right? When it's how high we were on Wentz, it doesn't get people don't get any more in on him than we were, right? Without actually producing multiple MVP type seasons. We were very protective of Carson Wentz, and we shouldn't have been, and we were duped, and we let our the blinders of that 2017 season just completely hid all the other issues that were as clear as day when you look back, right? So I think that's absolutely a part of the Carson Wentz story. It's just us and the media, the fan base, just giving him pass after pass, and after all the stuff this season how it ended, enough was enough, and you gotta rip the Band-Aid off at one point. So I totally agree.
I was listening to something today about it. I wanted to go back on because I didn't. I read out some articles and stuff, but I didn't listen to any real local stuff outside of the radio that same day. I listened to the John Ritchie and Joe DeCamara because they were on when it happened. But I wanted to go back and listen to a couple things. One thing that they were talking about on the podcast that I listened to was QB at 6, man. After hearing them talk about it, it's making me feel like it's more likely than I've given it credit for, because there's legitimately 4 QBs that are going in the top 10.
Yeah.
And like it's going to be pretty tough for them to pass on either Justin Fields or Zach Wilson when either of them, because somebody is going to not take a QB in the top 4, and then so now you're like within 2 picks of one of those 3 QBs of Fields, Wilson, and Lawrence. Obviously, Lawrence will be gone, but I mean, after listening to them like really discuss it, it's not at all going to be surprising to me if they end up pulling the trigger on another QB, which would drive me insane.
Which would just like, I mean, that's just like feeding WIP for the entire offseason, right? Like, if they do that, like, that would be amazing. But
one of them is from North Dakota State.
Yeah, that's right. Trey Lance, right? Yeah, for sure. Like, it is absolutely not outside the realm of possibility. I would be not shocked at all if it happened. I think we have to, prepare for that possibility for sure.
Not right now though. We're gonna have time leading up. I mean, it's gonna be.
We are. I listened to this like 2 hours ago, so it's just like fresh on the mind. But yeah, I know what you're saying. The other thing, and then we'll be done with this Carson deal, is kind of like, I have no idea what the possibilities are in terms of his look on the Colts. Like, you could tell me he's going to be Joe Flacco, or you could tell me he's going to be, prime, Big Ben or something, and it's going to be any outcome in between. I don't know how this kind of plays out, where I feel one way or the other strongly about his future trajectory, because there's just been so many holes on the Eagles supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have the system. He's going to have the running game, which was obviously super important to that 2017 season. I think you have to say that he's going to be at least a little effective, certainly more effective than he was for the Eagles this year. He's going to be a little bit happier, maybe a little bit easier to work with now he's in a new place. But you're right. It's who knows? His entire career has been just like a coin flip. You don't know which one you're going to get. If he stays healthy, and obviously that's still an if, I think you're probably looking at just like an average quarterback, just an average level quarterback, which I guess is good for the Colts. But it seems to me that there were better options on the table for a quarterback. I don't know that Carson Wentz is going to be a home run for them. I would push back on that if you told me he's going to have, some people on the outskirts of the media were like, oh, is he going to put it all together again? Is he going to have MVP type season? I would bet so much money against that. I don't think that's in his wheelhouse anymore. I don't think that he's capable of that anymore. But I think he's capable of being productive.
I think that's fair, but his ceiling is definitely higher than you would think a Sam Darnold's is, and some other options. And here's the thing, you're totally right with the coin flip analogy, because with those weapons and with just a good team and a good system, he could just kind of explode onto the scene a little bit, or at least come out hot. Or the rigidity of the system in place, and maybe not going for it as much on fourth, and not getting in the same type of rhythm or flow, or wanting to do hurry up. Who knows? But you could see where there's a certain set of protocols that maybe he's not as comfortable just doing the check down more frequently, and not wanting to go for the bigger plays. And one of the big things that I would say is one of the things that we saw with Hurts these 4 games, his eyes were down the field. And with Carson Wentz with weapons and a good line, is he going to be looking to make the chunk plays that make the great offenses great? Or will he kind of need time to get back to the confidence and the trust in himself, and I guess in the players around him, to show that? And it might not be this first season, but maybe that second season. I think for the money And for the price, it still was a solid deal for the Colts. And that's what I saw when I did my opposition research on their SB Nation page.
When you were deep behind enemy lines.
That's right.
Okay. We're moving on. We're done. We're done with it. Jalen Hurts, you're the guy. You're my guy. I'm officially stamping it.
I'm with Jalen Hurts. I'm team Jalen Hurts for now.
I like him a lot.
We'll have to have Stan Island Max on again to discuss how he feels about it. But for now, I'm team Hurts.
Yeah. The
Staten Island Max, not Max from Staten Island.
Yeah,
Staten Island Max.
Jesus cream. Oh my God, that was tough.
That's his name, man.
So
wear it out.
Max.
So I had just talked to Max from Staten Island a day ago. He called me and he was telling me we had all these crazy characters. I mean, we were working on Staten Island. I mean, it's a given. We had all these crazy characters that we worked with, and this one guy who is easily a superior. I'll say this: easily a superior at the job. He is so bad with technology. We would pretty much get weekly emails from him that were like, "Hey, I need you to come to my office. We need these gift cards handed out. Can you put your credit card info in and buy a bunch of them for us so that we can hand them out later?" And you're like, "What? Like, that seems weird." And like, he was just getting his email. He's a guy like who's a little bit older, and he was just getting his email hacked all the time. Like all the time, he was just getting like malware into our company system, and all of the emails were getting like spammed out to every employee where it's like, "Hey, buy these Amazon gift cards for me and I'll pay you back." And it's like it just became like known as a thing, so nobody like fell for it after like the first time. And he was telling me this the same guy got his Twitter account shut down because Twitter was thinking that he was a bot because he just kept replying to everybody great stuff all the time. And he had like hundreds of tweets in a row that just said great stuff. So like the algorithm thought he was a bot and shut his account down. So Max has had to be working on getting it up and running again.
Damn, man. That's tough, man. You can't be doing that. Jesus, man. Just what was he replying to? Like, just like random dudes, like just tweets. He was just like, good stuff in this tweet.
Great stuff. It's great.
Great stuff. Sorry.
That's what a bot would say.
Yeah.
That's what a bot would say, man.
Hundreds of tweets in a row, just like that. So yeah, he's in the thick of things up there. All right, so the Raptors, man, the Tampa Raptors.
hard pivot.
Hard pivot to Tampa Bay.
One of our classic hard pivots.
Title town, some would say.
Get out of here.
The two games here, an ugly stretch here. Raptors series was an ugly stretch. I'll have to say it. Cream, right. I'm going to have to defer to you on this, man. You got a lot of takes coming out of these two games. You can break them down how you want.
Yeah, I think just overall season-wise, the Sixers have been kind of in an up-and-down stage after kind of a blitzing start, right? They've played obviously well, but they had the 3-game losing streak on the road out west and then came back, had this tough series with Toronto, and Toronto got a lot of slack for starting the season off really poorly, but they've rebounded a lot, and they're above 500 again, which is, and they're going to be a playoff team. So this was an important test, I think, for the Sixers. Remember, they haven't played that many good teams this year, and they only have a couple of really impressive wins. So every time you're playing against a potential playoff opponent like the Raptors, I think it's an important test, especially in a 2-game series. And, we split, 1-1, not the worst outcome in the world, right? But I think there were a lot of areas of concern that I think we should address. First and foremost being the Raptors' game plan of just selling out to stop Embiid, sending ferocious triple teams at him whenever he got the ball on the block, being just super, super aggressive with him, and really limiting him during the two games. And as a result, surprise, surprise, the Sixers struggled to score. Now, we eventually, in the second game, we got enough three-point shooting from the supporting cast. Tobias Harris had a great game, and we were able to win. But my question to you guys, and Jake, I'll start with you, is are you afraid that teams are going to be adopting this game plan against the Sixers, and especially in the playoffs? Are you afraid that we don't have enough creation outside of Joel Embiid in our offense?
So I think the entire time we've known that the playoffs officiated differently. We've looked at the statistics related to the Sixers being one of the league leaders in getting to the line, if not number one. Mm-hmm. And that's primarily through Joe. And those rip moves, and, he's still going to get to the line. But in the playoffs, teams identify the one thing that they will not let beat them. So obviously on that team, it's Joel Embiid, and you're going to force him, and he's been starting to do it, but you saw a couple of these passes get picked off this game. You're going to force the ball out of his hands, and for him to have to repost, and for the ball to have to swing, and for the passes for the Sixers players to be on the money. Because, yes, you do have shooters, but guys like Tobias Harris and Danny Green, they need a really good pass. Don't even need to dribble, just catch and shoot. And, Ben Simmons can do that well, but there's really nobody else that can. And I worry that come playoff time, it's both the double teams that are going to come, but it's also the manufacturing of half-court offense when Embiid is not on the floor. Because if they just keep going up by 10 and then Embiid goes to the bench and the lead goes down to 2 or 0, that's just not going to be sustainable. And I think that other teams, they might not have the athletic bodies to be able to have that recovery speed that a team like that a team like Toronto has. But I think they will be deploying similar aggressive, all-out engage 8 blitzes on Joel Embiid to prevent him from being the one to beat you. And it'll be interesting to see, how do you start to work on that now before the playoffs come?
Right. And just a reference point, Ray, 2 games, Embiid had 9 turnovers to, I think, 3 assists, and he was 9 for 23 from the field. So it was very effective against, stopping the MVP, presumptive MVP, Joel Embiid. Like, how do you feel about this moving forward, and how, what's your rating on how concerned you are?
One piece of information before you chime in, Ray. At one point in the game, the Sixers went 8 minutes against the Raptors without being able to record a bucket. And that is something that triggers some real PTSD with this Sixers squad, and Embiid obviously going scoreless in the one game, and just all of it. I mean, how do we ensure that doesn't happen again, that we just don't get a bucket for 8 minutes?
I'll say it. I've always been out on Carson Wentz. I never liked him. The team didn't they have, we don't want to ever admit it. And let's get honest here, boys. Let's get honest here. They're not frauds, okay?
No.
But they have,
no one's saying that.
They have fraudulent smells, I'll say.
Yes.
There's a waft in the air of residual fraudulent, like somebody hasn't taken the fraudulent out in 3 days, and it's smelling up the joint a little bit.
Definitely fraudulent moments.
The schedule they played, wasn't it the lightest schedule in the league the first half of the season?
For the first 20 games, it was the easiest. Right now they're 25th. Out of 30 teams. So and that's when you factor in a couple of COVID games where we were playing the Heat, without half their roster. I think you begin to not question, but have concerns with the readiness of this team.
Yeah. So I think that combined with, like you said, the starkly similar issues to the previous, I don't know, 3 seasons of long scoring droughts lead you to believe there has to be a move to be made. Kareem, you briefly touched on when we were getting ready to record. I'll just read it off right here. This Kevin O'Connor suggestion that the Sixers are possibly looking into Kyle Lowry, which is funny.
Yeah.
But he said trade market still needs to take shape in the coming weeks, so realistic targets are unclear. But one name to monitor is the Raptors point guard Kyle Lowry, a 34-year-old Philadelphia native. In the final season of his contract, a veteran perimeter shot creator is the only piece the Sixers truly lack, and there aren't many other players on Lowry's level who are even theoretically available. I would like acquiring him. There's twofold for it. The first thing is he is exactly what they need. A defensive, creating, good shooting point guard with playoff pedigree is virtually everything they need. Right. There's two issues with it. One,
other than like Kevin Durant, he's kind of the
guy. Yeah. Acquiring Steph Curry seems a little harder to do. So we'll go with this. We'll go with a guy on a 1 year or a half a contract deal with who's 34. One, are the Raptors really trading him to you? Who knows? The other thing is the team is clearly in need of somebody of his caliber, but is it subtraction? Is it addition by subtraction in terms of like what you're giving up to get him? Because it's got to be like Danny to match salary. Like if you're losing
up a lot,
if you're losing people like Danny and then also trading a first to like make the deal happen, the team with Kyle Lowry but without Danny, without Mike Scott, and like let's say a decent bench piece, like are you truly raising your ceiling, I guess?
I think there's definitely a question of the fit of this roster has been what's allowed Joel Embiid to blossom into the player that he's performing at right now, right? Like they seem to have very good understanding, at least that starting five. The bench is what it is sometimes, but the starting five has been excellent, and they have shown a real chemistry together. And I do worry that when you try to tinker around the edges too much, you may end up hurting more than you're helping when you're bringing in guys for half a season and the second half of the season just dropped and you're not going to have many practice days. Like it's already tough enough. We've seen this team the past 2 seasons, 2 of the past 3 seasons struggle to accommodate deadline players. Like we're not getting the full value of these guys that come in, and it's because it's so often that guys aren't acclimated before the playoffs. But there's a but, when it comes to a player of Kyle Lowry's caliber, I think that those concerns are a bit overblown, right? Like when you're talking about moving Danny Green for like, I don't know, just a name like Eric Bledsoe or something, yeah, like I would have concerns about the fit and the chemistry and moving the pieces around. But for Kyle Lowry, yeah, I'm willing to mix up the roster at a chance that he raises our ceiling, because I think a player of his caliber does.
If they want a guy like Matisse Thybulle, like if they want Danny, let's say Mike Scott's whatever, let's say he's salary filler. If they want like Thybulle, a pick, and Danny Green, like are you doing that deal?
No.
I think that's a tough deal to say no to. I don't know.
No.
Wow, starkly different answers.
I don't know.
The answer is no, and you're right. Like the profile is what we need, but like I just think you can find somebody else to make some of the glaring weaknesses a little less apparent on like important possessions in every close game for the rest of the regular season. Like when we get down to it, I mean, the playoffs, like if you're going to live and die by Ben and Joe, then you just get the best possible pieces that can complement them, like we've seen a version of this year. And Lowry does do a lot of good things. It strikes me as like, you want to keep your flexibility with these first-round picks. We're one of the last teams that's an elite, upper echelon team that has some first-round picks to fuck around with. And if you kind of blow even just one of them now on this, with the timing of not being able to trade back-to-back, and if you're giving up, a legit piece in Maxey or Thibault with it, that just really rubs me the wrong way. Those are still possible, spot minutes. Who knows? They can be helpful pieces where, if you can make some of the glaring weaknesses not be so apparent, then in the form of like true shooting and like a legit ball hit, like the price of a George Hill instead. Like, I don't know if those prices are drastically different, but as much as I wanna and I recognize the team needs help, I don't know, splurging and going all in on Lowry just doesn't strike me as the right move.
Yeah, and I'm not, and chances are it's not the move, right? Because for all the reasons, like Toronto would seem to me be very reluctant to deal him. He's been a very beloved player. Yeah, unless he wanted to, which, I mean, I've never seen anything that he's like, has this love, like he desperately wants to play for the Sixers.
Puts North Philly on his sneaks. I don't know, bro. I mean, like,
he loves the city. That doesn't mean he loves the city, team,
bro.
Man. He doesn't love the team. It doesn't mean he loves the team.
I think there's definitely
conflate those two things, and I think that there's, there's liking the city. Kobe Bryant liked the city.
We're splitting hairs.
Did not like the Sixers. Did not. So I think just because he's from here, that doesn't mean he's going to force
home
a trade
and win a championship with these guys in your home city. I gotta disagree with you there.
I think we're reading into something way too much when
I'm saying his desire, if he wanted to be moved to a team that he thought had a real chance, matters because he's met so much to that organization, and you would think that means something, but maybe I'm just completely full of shit.
Dude, who's to say the Raptors don't have a real chance? I mean, they still have him, Van Vliet, and Pascal Siakam, man. They could try and conjure something up themselves.
Whatever.
And to begin to act like to begin to act like you know what his like headspace is a lofty assumption.
Yeah,
he's not getting traded here. So it's any other targets you got, because he's not coming here.
I agree that he's probably not coming here, but I think it's an interesting thought experiment. And the reason that I'm a little more willing to part with some of these young guys is I see the opportunity at hand. Like the Sixers have played great, Embiid is playing great. Ben Simmons has seemingly, maybe he hasn't turned the corner, but he's turned a corner. Like, he's getting closer to where we need him to be, where we expect him to end up, right? Like,
corner. How many corners do we need? Cream, how many corners do we need here?
Man, there's a lot of corners. Like, there's a lot of corners. Many corners. Don't worry about how many. But he's playing better, right? He's playing some of the best basketball he's played of his career. Just these past 10, 12 games. But then you look at who's right behind you in the Eastern Conference standings, and the Nets are playing fucking phenomenal. They've won like 7 in a row.
Gotta hit it.
That's without part Philadelphia Union owner Kevin Durant. Like, that's without him.
Loves the city though, dude. Loves the city.
He loves the city.
You might be able to get him.
maybe we'll trade for him. Yeah.
He's literally got
stake, man.
Yeah.
He's got stake in the game.
Chester.
Yeah. So I worry about matching up with the Nets in the playoffs. I think we would have to be considered the underdog for that series, just because I don't know how you're scoring. You have to score like over 120 points a game, and I've seen, as good as our defense is, I don't think we can hold them to under that limit, and I struggle to think.
And that's where it's tough with like a Lowry trade, because if let's say you hypothetically get your deal, which is like Scott, Thibault, Danny Green, like your defense might be worse against that team. That's two, like Thibault and Danny Green are two of your best, like big body defenders, like people who can actually guard big wings. And, you have Simmons, but then you have Kevin Durant to deal with. I don't know.
Lowry's a good enough defender that you can throw him in there. He's certainly, at this point, I think better than Danny Green. But I agree with your point, but Lowry just makes the team significantly better on offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Both Thibault and Danny Green are so limited offensively. Thibault, to the nth degree. That like in the playoffs, we saw it the last two games. Like they're not afraid to leave him open. They're not afraid to leave Danny Green open because they know even if he gets it, they can just run him off the line and he can't do anything. Like. You have so many one-dimensional players on offense, and Thibault, God bless him, 0.5 dimensions on offense. I worry about the team in the playoffs facing these aggressive double teams from Embiid and Simmons, being able to manufacture offense. So that's where I'm at right now. Obviously, a lot can change over the course of the season. I'm looking forward to a couple, matchups. Later down the line with some more playoff teams. So I know we play Indiana and Utah again next week. I would love to see those games, see how we play, how we adjust.
The interesting thing with him, too, would be how many fouls you could cook up on the other team and how quickly you could get people into foul trouble.
Yes, him and Embiid would be.
Woo! That was kind of part of the Harden thing too.
Yeah, true. Yeah. For sure.
All right, so one other NBA related thing, couple other NBA related things. Well, Kareem, you were worried about other teams adopting this Toronto strategy and kind of throwing such vicious triple teams at our boy.
Yeah, I think the Bucks have players that you can do that with. With Middleton and Holiday and Giannis, that's a lot of length to deal with. And I think Toronto's a pretty easy scenario where you could see us getting matched up in the playoffs again. That's just pretty obvious. And obviously Boston's not playing well right now, but if they add a piece, if they can add a legitimate four, they're a team that has length at the wing spots that can cause you trouble in a way that Toronto does as well. So I think that there's a lot to be concerned about there.
Boston taking that rough loss to Dallas the other night.
Yes, that was. I mean, you hate to see it. Them losing. Luka comes down, hits a three. Jaylen Brown, who's been playing so well, comes down to tie it, and then Luka, 0.1 seconds left, rips their heart out. That was tough. That was tough for me because I went on the Bleacher Report community app for the Celtics page, as I do after every Celtics loss.
Wow. Every Celtics loss, I got to call this out now. Every Celtics, you're spending too much time on there if you're doing it because they're losing a lot.
They're losing a lot, yes. They really took this one hard, man, and they're really coming down hard on our guy Kemba Walker. Hate to see it.
Man, I really thought Kemba was going to be so good for them. I was so worried.
I was so jealous. I was like, why weren't we pursuing him? I remember talking about that on this podcast, being like, why was Horford the target? Kemba Walker was right there, right in front of us. And I still kind of agree with that logic. Obviously, it hasn't panned out due to physical problems, but, the logic was still sound of, why weren't they pursuing, a high-level scoring, efficient shooting point guard who was an unrestricted free agent? They were still idiots at the time.
100%. This doesn't absolve them of any of anything. The Sixers front office did that summer, that horrible summer, which shall not be named. But yeah, so I go in there from time to time, just when I'm feeling a little spicy.
They're 15-16.
And you know what? They're getting the brakes beaten off of them by Trae Young right now. They are down 94-69 in the third quarter.
I gotta see what's up with my boy Billy Sims.
I mean, I'm sure he's handling it, just like really well and like just like a normal, rational person. I think he's
just a regular guy.
He's just a regular guy, man. Just
you know what I saw?
He's a sports guy.
You know what I saw the other day? Because I'm a Bill Simmons listener for sure.
Yeah, I did actually know that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have Wayne, me and Bill. We go back, but we have a up and down sometimes. I'm kind of on a down with him, and he had Charles in the title of the episode. It was Charles Barkley on Ben Simmons, Zion, and like other NBA topics or something. And I just couldn't do it, man. I wanted to. I was like, he's going to be talking about our guy. I got to see what I knew what the takes were, though, man. I couldn't click on it.
They're just very predictable. Yeah, from Barkley. And really, like, Barkley and Shaq just, like, I don't remember them being this, like, crazy about, like, attacking current players. And I know they've always kind of done it, but I feel like this year it's been kind of a lot.
The Shaq thing was unfortunate, but like honestly, they're just going to be old heads. They're going to play their role. They're going to go on their all these platforms for the content, and it's going to keep churning out. I think we could use some fresher bodies. We had some former NBA guys that have retired. In between. When 2000 like. Yeah. 4 to like 2010 range. Like, can we have some of those guys be like, yeah, the game's different, but it's also great, other than the officiating.
You like Kendrick Perkins, that's what you're saying?
Honestly, like, obviously he's too much, but guys like that.
Ryan Hollins, you're a big Ryan Hollins fan?
Nah, it's nice to have some NBA flair, some old guy.
Jake wants Ryan Anderson. He wants the least amount of fight possible.
No, I still want some old guy edge. I need a little hard edge to kind of just like rub my face and shit a little bit to be like, you guys aren't that tough, and like you should be very grateful for what you have. But at the same time, you have our utter support in your endeavors to improve your workplace situation and recognize your own value. So it's just a matter of like always covering both sides of the topic and like not allowing a soundbite to get out there that's going to paint a conversation that wasn't really what was happening. I actually listened to that podcast episode, and I thought it was okay.
You did?
I did.
You're going to bring that up now after I mentioned it 5 minutes ago?
Sure.
What was it like? Fill me in.
Listen. No. I because
this is the Bill Simmons review.
No. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Look, I listen to a lot of pods now, and it's hard to keep up with any of it. It's all just white noise to help with the pain of existing. So,
okay, fair enough.
Good to know.
Well, we're going to your segment next, which is a bit on the review track. So we're adding a new segment, a weekly segment. The thing that I'm not sure if this has been done by another podcast. If it has, we didn't steal it from you intentionally. If it hasn't, it was totally our idea. Don't steal it from us. I just truly don't know if anybody else is doing this. But the Daryl Morey tweet of the week.
Yes.
We've assigned Jake with the lofty position, a promotion of sorts that he hasn't had in years, but he's had coming for a while. He's a grinder. He is filling in when other hosts aren't around. He's like the guy who does Christmas morning and Thanksgiving Day when the other EJP, A team is out. So we've given him health insurance and we've given him a new section. So it's the Daryl Morey tweet of the week.
Really proud to have this segment under my leadership and my tutelage.
Yes.
And I'm hopeful that I can make everyone involved proud. So, yes, notorious Twitter content creator Daryl Morey with a whopping, honestly, this surprised me. There's a lot of guys out there with some bigger followings. Just a smidge under 280,000 followers on Twitter and growing. I would have to assume with this amount of activity at least.
Are you saying you think that's he's undervalued or overvalued?
Yeah.
You think he should be
closer to 1 million? I would have thought. Yeah. With all the people that have 1 million, man. I mean, whatever. Anyway, so I'm not gonna go with the more traditional shout outs to Paul Reed that Daryl Morey has been hinting at. G League player Paul Reed, who's tweets average about 50 likes if I had to estimate. So what I'm going to go with is really a fan favorite, which is Rich Hoffman, respected reporter, a tweet from February 17th. He said, Matisse Thybulle at the top of a 2-3 zone is a first-team All-NBA defender. To which Daryl Morey mentioned, drop at the top of 2-3 zone. It's cleaner. and then there's a GIF from The Social Network when Justin Timberlake is just owning somebody. And the Matisse Thybulle stuff, listen, these guys were told, look, you're out of here, bro. We're making the move.
Yes.
He's just out here, like, not just completely. It's not even like there was a little hiatus or something. He was right back at it. Like within a couple hours, he's like, all right, it's time to gas these motherfuckers up.
Matisse Thybulle's bags were packed at Daryl Morey's orders. We can't overstate that enough.
They were gone. Him and Ben Simmons were gone. Like, and there's so much Ben content that he's liking and mentioning. Like, dude, like this guy. We're gonna have it as a recurring segment, but seriously, I mean, at this pace, we're seeing a lot of activity per day. I'm scrolling through right now. There's a lot per day.
Are you working hard enough, Daryl? Are you working hard enough, Daryl?
Is he check? I think he's leaving Elton to do all the day-to-day stuff. Who's big
who's
picture.
That guy from Indy that they hired?
Oh, I don't even remember. You're killing me. I have no way of remembering that guy's name.
That guy seems like he does a lot of work.
His name was like Casper something or something.
No, that is not it. He seems like he did a lot of work.
I'm sure Daryl Morey is scamming Josh Harris out of a lot of money, and he's just showing up to the Friday meetings like, okay, guys, what did we do this week? Like, just being the ultimate, just scrolling Twitter through the day, and every week just being like, good work, Ellen. Good work, guy from Indiana whose name he doesn't even know.
He doesn't know either, yeah. He's like, good luck, Casper or something.
Here's why this segment matters, is because the old age adage that you cannot be productive and a professional and a real adult, but also be scrolling on Twitter all day. And yes. Daryl Morey, who is at the top of his professional profession, is trying to change the narrative about that. And as we check in per week and we check in with how the team's doing and how his Twitter activity is doing, we'll see, can he destigmatize the myth that you cannot be a Twitter scroller, a doom scroller, a content masher, and also a productive human and adult in your professional job.
Do you guys want the name? You want the name of guy from Indiana?
Yeah, give me the name.
Peter Dinwiddie.
Peter Dinwiddie, okay.
Yeah.
There is somebody else, too, that they added, but...
you're thinking of Prosper Karanga.
Prosper. Yeah, that's where I got Casper. I mean, I think that
he was
short
from
jump
Orlando, I think.
Yeah. That sounds right. So, yeah, Daryl Morey is just, like... The front office was fully staffed before Daryl Morey got here, and they didn't make any changes after he got here.
Nope.
So I think he's kind of just, like, riding this out, man. I think he's just, like, sitting in on meetings and just giving his 2 cents every other day and just scamming Josh Harris out of a boatload of money. I guess he's worth every penny if he got rid of Al Horford's contract. So
yeah, he's still doing a good job.
Yeah, I can't complain.
All right. The last segment, back to back. Jake is going to be all over these pods, and we might start leading with him. We might have to do, how in some people say like, oh, you gotta lead with a good thing, go with a bad thing, and then end with a good thing. So we might have to start sandwiching these Jake segments around the slot. But today we're getting them back to back. Jake, the 3 questions. What do you got for us?
All right. Well, I think this is a bounce back week. You know, it's usually something we save for the Eagles season after a really bad loss. But I think you guys are going to like the questions this week. Now, let's coming out the gate hot and with a quality question, if I do say so myself. Fellas, the average age of NFL coaches and coordinators for the 2020 season. This is going to be a 2-parter. What do you believe the average age for NFL coaches and coordinators as a unit per team? What do you think that age is?
Do you have a guess, Ray?
44.
I'm higher. I'm like 55.
Okay, right down the middle at 49.
Oh,
49 years of age. So just a tick shy under 50. Now, my question to you guys is, what is the average age of the Eagles 2021 staff?
Is it
36?
I think is it like 32, I think.
Yo, Ray, you almost had it. It's 35.
Okay.
35 years old. These dudes
so that's 14
so
years
young.
Younger than the average of the NFL.
I love that.
Other than Jeff Stoutland, they do not have anybody that has the old guy edge, if I do say so myself. Nobody.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how it works out for him.
It could be a trend.
I mean, it's absolutely a trend going younger.
You opted.
Whether they're actually
Could
good
be
at
a
their
trend.
jobs remains to be seen.
Guys are like, yeah, we're fucking trendsetters. We're a pristine organization. We're the model of the league, man. What are you talking about?
Tell you what, if we get 7 wins out of this next season, give them all raises.
That's how many Dougie got his first year.
Yeah, give them all raises.
All right,
Get 7 wins. Everybody's gonna be hiring 30-year-olds. If we get 7 wins next season,
They might hire you, Cream.
yeah, they might. Probably be a mistake, but don't tell them that.
Number 2.
Don't tell
Number
Elton. He thinks it's another one.
No one tell
All right,
Owen.
settle down. The second question tonight. Now, we did not mention this at all. We're going to maybe give Cream a bit later to talk about hockey, but they had their outdoor game at an aesthetically beautiful setting, but they ran into some problems with the elements, with the sun melting the ice and the glare really providing a problem, leading to like the biggest delay because they only played 1 period, the teams that played on Saturday, and they can't put the game in the books until there's at least 2 periods played. So it didn't resume until midnight on Saturday night, and I watched a little bit of it just because it was good entertainment. But anyway, the Flyers really got smacked around in their outdoor game on Sunday. Don't really want to talk about it. We've only ever won once. We played in like 5. But all of that rigmarole to say, guys, especially with what is happening now, isn't it time for the NBA Winter Classic All-Star Game outdoors at some amazing arena, and it can travel to different outdoor venues every year? Wouldn't an outdoor basketball game for that sport be kind of like throwing it back and be like a really, really cool experience?
I think that there's definitely some merit to that idea. I think the logistics of that are going to be pretty difficult to deal with. But yeah, I mean, I'd be down for it, an all-star game. I don't think you can have a game that matters be played outside. But I would absolutely be just like a preseason game or something. Sure, I'm down for that. I think that would be fun. Obviously, like the idea that the one that's always been floated is at Rucker Park, and obviously you can't have fans there. But in our current world, not really an issue. So that would be something I'd be interested in, just as like a one-off like gimmick thing. I don't think it's a like something. Obviously, the NHL has adopted this. You know, they started it like I think 8 or 9 years ago, and they've just completely like adapted it to a lot of different parts of their sport. They've kind of built their schedule around it.
It.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'd agree with that.
I think that's possible, but For basketball, yeah, I'd be interested in it, man. I'm always looking for playing sports in weird locations. That seems fun.
I kind of love this idea. I think this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to go. You don't even have to go with like you said, like the street ball aesthetic, like doing it at a famous like street park. You could even just like assemble a good normal court
Oh yeah.
on
Yeah, for sure.
a certain location, like outside of the art museum in Philadelphia, per se. The other thing that this reminds me of is like the the college teams. They used to play on like the aircraft carriers outside.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I literally just looked that up because I vaguely remembered it. They held 2 games in 2011 and 2012. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so something like that could work too if you wanted to do something with like the military. But honestly, the owners are really gonna look at you and be like, "So you want me to give up a night of 25,000 people coming and spending money at my stadium?
No,
Or
they would not do it
for
regular
what
season.
now?
No,
Oh,
they would not do it.
yeah.
For the
So,
love of the game? What the fuck is that?
so I love the idea. I don't see it happen.
Yeah, it seems unlikely, but I'm absolutely for it. It's an outside the box, idea, and that's what I'm all about.
All right. Well, then don't get your hopes up for the third question. Third and final question tonight to close
Peanut
this
butter
out
and
with the
jelly.
segment.
Ever had it?
Ever heard of it, idiot?
Honestly, those that use crunchy peanut butter, I really have a problem with. But now it's off the rails. The last question is, what is one of your favorite or go-to words or phrases? I will go first.
What?
As a teacher of the English language, I have a special relationship with words, especially the profane ones. But one of the words that I enjoy using that I saw in Sal Palantonio's book about the Eagles Super Bowl and that has stayed with me, even though it's not even that fancy, is temerity. Temerity. You want the etymology of the word? I don't know how.
I do not know what that word means.
Temerity as in boldness, as in going for it, risking something. And it was used in the sentence to describe one Doug Peterson and his decision to go for it with the Philly special, even though Nick Foles was the one that was like, yo, Doug, we're Philly, because Doug wanted to go with a power run play. I don't know if you guys saw that nugget. It was Nick Foles came out and said, like, yeah, Doug wanted to run like a basically power run option. And then Nick was like, yeah, Philly. So temerity is my word, and Doug Peterson is not our coach anymore.
That's true. Ray, do you have a word?
Or a phrase. Or a phrase.
A phrase I say all the time, your pal, my pal, Sal pal.
More like so we're sitting here. That's a good one for you.
Do I say that a lot? So we're sitting here. What else do I say? I don't even know what I say. I say like I'm out on that a lot. Like people will be like,
out,
yeah, you trying to go to a crowded movie theater? I'm out on that. Yeah.
Great sentence.
So I guess that one.
Taken like directly out of like a COVID health and safety video. If I would say, I mean, I'm sure I say a lot of things repeatedly on this podcast, but my favorite sports phrase, and it was used in a commentary of a soccer game, and it's my favorite sports analysis that I've ever heard, and it's chasing shadows. It's that the team was getting so outplayed that they were chasing shadows out there. They were 2-3 steps behind the other team. I heard it once, and I fell in love with it, and I always try to work it in, but I can never figure a way into implementing it into our podcast. But if I could, Chasing Shadows is my favorite.
I've known you for 8 years, never heard you say it once.
Yeah. That's my favorite, man. So
he picked a phrase that he doesn't say.
That's my favorite phrase. Hey, I've never heard Jake say whatever the fuck he said.
That's true. I won the segment. That's true. I won the segment.
Ray wins the segment for just saying common-ass phrases.
Dude, Cream, I hate to say it. Okay, let me lay this out. I can't think of a scenario that you're gonna work it in and it goes over well. Because there's two scenarios here. There's scenario A where you're with people like us who are following sports closely and like know the phrases. Like if somebody says like, oh, he's gotta reach for the pylon there. Like my girlfriend is not gonna know what the pylon is.
Yeah.
But like you and I and Jake all would. But if you say it around us, we're probably gonna clown you on it. And then if you say it in front of a group of casual fans, they're not gonna know at all what you're talking about.
Right.
And even if you say it around us, we might not know what you're talking about. I don't think you're gonna get to work it in. No,
it's a tragedy in my lifetime. I love it, but I can't ever, fit it in, and that's just my life. So I'm okay with that, but I still love it. I still think it's a really like poetic phrase.
Maybe you write a book one day.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
I suppose I'd have to learn how to read, but
no, you don't have to read
steps.
or write. So, do we have anything else for us?
No, sir.
I think we're good. I think we're all right. We're ready to dismount.
We're ready to dismount. We're ready to dismount off this podcast. We came to a screeching halt here, boys. We got egg on.
We're known for though.
Well, we came in with egg on our face, and we're leaving with egg on our face. The Wentz stuff, like T-minus 12 hours. They're gonna make like a.
If Kyle Lowry gets traded to the Sixers in 12 hours, I will be furious. I will be furious.
Let's see it. Let's make it happen.
All right. Thank you all for listening. I hope you have a great one. Bye.